The late afternoon light poured through the trees lining the street, casting elongated shadows on the pavement. I had just finished a grueling day at school, the kind that drags on no matter how much you wish for it to end. My friend Jonah and I had spent the last hour in the chaotic embrace of the cafeteria, our laughter mingling with the clinks of lunch trays and the echo of voices, but I was still feeling the weight of the day as I climbed the steps to his house. Jonah's older sister, Mia, had always been a force of nature. At 21, she was the kind of woman who radiated confidence, her laughter ringing through the hallways like music. I had always admired her from a distance, not just for her beauty, but for her fiery spirit and the way she commanded attention without even trying. She was the kind of person who made you feel alive just being around her. But today, as I approached the door with the weight of my missing jacket sitting heavy on my shoulders, I felt a strange mix of anxiety and anticipation. I had left my jacket at their house during a movie night last weekend. It had been one of those nights filled with popcorn, laughter, and an endless stream of jokes. I had thought nothing of it when I tossed my jacket over the back of the couch, too caught up in the fun to remember my belongings. But now it seemed I would have to face Mia to retrieve it. I reached for the doorbell, but before I could press it, the door swung open as if she had been waiting for me. Mia stood there, framed in the doorway, a vision in a casual white tank top and faded jeans that hugged her curves. Her long hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and her striking green eyes locked onto mine, holding my gaze with an intensity that made my heart race. "Hey," she said, her voice smooth and inviting, but there was an edge to it, a glint of mischief that made my stomach flutter. "You left your jacket here. Come get it. I won't leave it outside." Her tone was playful, but I could sense something deeper behind it. As she held the jacket in one hand, the fabric swayed slightly, and my heart sank at the thought of how careless I had been to leave it behind. Thanks," I managed, my voice barely above a whisper. I stepped over the threshold, feeling the cool air of the house wash over me, mingling with the warmth of late summer. The familiar scent of vanilla candles and freshly baked cookies enveloped me, reminding me of countless visits filled with laughter and comfort. "Come in," she encouraged, stepping aside to let me pass. I hesitated for a moment, caught between the impulse to flee and the magnetic pull of her presence. But Mia's gaze was unwavering, and I found myself stepping inside, the door clicking shut behind me. The living room was just as I remembered it, filled with eclectic decor and the remnants of my last visit. A half-finished puzzle on the coffee table and blankets tossed haphazardly over the couch. But today, the atmosphere felt charged, electric with an unspoken tension that made my heart race. "Here," Mia said, holding out the jacket. "It's not dirty or anything. I took it to the dry cleaners just to be safe." I reached out to take it from her, our fingers brushing against each other for just a moment. The contact sent a jolt through me, and I suddenly felt acutely aware of how close we were standing. My cheeks burned as I pulled my hand back, clutching the jacket tightly against my chest, as if it could shield me from the rush of emotions swirling inside. "Thanks," I repeated, my voice steadier this time, but the warmth of her gaze was unwavering. It felt as if she was studying me, as if she could see right through to the thoughts racing through my mind. "Did you want to hang out for a bit?" she asked, her tone casual but laced with something more. "I could use some company while I bake these cookies." Baking cookies with Mia? The invitation hung in the air like a sweet promise. I hesitated, glancing at the door behind me, the world outside still bustling with life. But the thought of leaving Mia's presence, of stepping back into the mundane reality of my day, felt unbearable. "Sure, I'd love to," I said, my heart racing at the prospect of spending more time with her. "Awesome," she said, her smile lighting up the room. "I'll grab the ingredients." As she turned to head to the kitchen, I took a moment to collect myself, the jacket still clutched tightly in my hands. I glanced around the room, my eyes landing on the puzzle on the table, the scattered pieces a reminder of the fun we had shared just a week ago. Mia returned with a bowl, flour, sugar, and chocolate chips in hand, her hair swaying with each step. "I hope you like chocolate chip cookies. It's kind of my specialty," she said, her green eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "I love them," I replied, my voice steadying as I moved closer to help her. Together, we began mixing the ingredients, our movements fluid and effortless as we chatted about school, summer plans, and the inevitable return to the grind of the school year. The laughter came easily, and with each shared story, the tension that had filled the air dissipated, replaced by a sense of warmth and familiarity. "Did I ever tell you about the time Jonah tried to bake cookies and almost burned the house down?" Mia asked, her laughter bubbling over. I shook my head, intrigued. "No, but that sounds like a story I need to hear." "Oh, it was a disaster. He forgot to set a timer and then got distracted playing video games. By the time he remembered, the smoke alarms were going off, and the kitchen looked like a war zone." She laughed, her eyes sparkling with mischief. The sound was infectious, and I found myself laughing along, the tension of the day fading away. As we mixed the dough, I couldn't help but steal glances at her. The way she moved, the way her lips curled into a smile, and the way her laughter rang out like music, it captivated me. I had always thought of Mia as Jonah's older sister, but now, in this moment, I began to see her as something much more. "Okay, now comes the fun part," she said, reaching for the chocolate chips. "You have to get your hands a little messy." I watched as she poured a generous handful of chips into the dough, her fingers deftly mixing them in. "Here, you try," she said, handing me the bowl. I took it, our fingers brushing together again, and a rush of warmth spread through me. "All right, let's see how messy I can get," I said, plunging my hands into the dough. Mia giggled, her laughter brightening the room. "You're going to regret that," she teased, but I could see the playfulness in her eyes. As we worked, the conversation flowed easily, but underneath the surface, I could feel an unspoken connection. We moved closer, our shoulders brushing against each other as we leaned over the bowl, and I could feel the heat radiating from her body. "Do you ever think about what you want to do after high school?" she asked suddenly, her tone shifting to something more serious. I paused, the weight of her question sinking in. "I'm not sure yet. I think about college, but I'm still figuring it all out." "What about you?" "I'm trying to figure that out too," she admitted, her expression thoughtful. "I love baking, but I also want to travel. There's so much out there to see." "Yeah, I get that," I replied, feeling a surge of admiration for her. "You'd make a great travel blogger or something." Mia laughed, the sound bright and carefree. "Maybe, but I'm not sure I could handle all the planning. I prefer the spontaneous adventures." "Spontaneous adventures?" I echoed, intrigued. "Like what?" "Like last summer, I just packed a bag and went camping by the lake. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. It was terrifying but also exhilarating." Her eyes sparkled at the memory, and I could see the passion in her expression. "That sounds incredible," I said, my heart racing at the thought. "I wish I could be that brave." "You are brave," she said, her tone suddenly serious. "It takes courage to step out of your comfort zone. You're doing it right now by hanging out with me." Her words lingered in the air, a quiet compliment that made my heart skip a beat. "Thanks," I said, my cheeks flushing. "I guess it's easier when I'm with you." The moment hung between us, charged with unspoken possibilities. I could feel the air shift, the playful banter giving way to something deeper, something that made my pulse race and my breath catch in my throat. "Okay, let's get these cookies in the oven before we eat all the dough," Mia said, breaking the spell. She moved to grab a baking sheet, and I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. As we placed the dough onto the sheet, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was changing between us, a shift that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. There was a connection I hadn't noticed before, and it was as if the walls I had built around my feelings were slowly crumbling. While they bake, we can watch a movie, Mia suggested, her voice light again. What do you think? Sounds great, I said, my heart racing at the thought of spending even more time with her. We settled into the living room, the warm glow of the kitchen fading as we turned on the TV. The movie played in the background, but my mind was elsewhere, caught up in the intoxicating thrill of being so close to her. I could feel the heat radiating off her, the way her laughter danced through the air, and I found myself stealing glances at her, mesmerized by her every movement. As the credits rolled, Mia turned to me, her expression softening. I'm really glad you came over today. Me too, I admitted, my heart pounding. It's been a while since I've had this much fun. Her gaze held mine, a spark of something unspoken flaring to life between us. Do you want to come over more often? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Absolutely, I replied, my heart racing. Just then, the timer for the cookies beeped, slicing through the moment. Mia jumped up, excitement lighting her features. Cookies! She exclaimed, and I laughed, feeling the tension break again as we moved to the kitchen. As we pulled the cookies from the oven, the sweet aroma filled the air, wrapping around us like a warm embrace. Mia handed me a warm cookie, and as I took a bite, I couldn't help but smile. These are amazing, I said, my mouth full. Of course they are. I made them, she teased, her laughter ringing out again. The rest of the afternoon slipped away in a haze of laughter, cookies, and shared stories. And as the sun began to dip below the horizon, I felt an overwhelming sense of happiness. I had come to get my jacket, but I was leaving with something much more valuable. An unforgettable afternoon with Mia that had shifted my perception of her forever. As I stood to leave, the jacket slung over my shoulder, I turned back to her, the warmth of the day lingering in the air. Thanks for today, Mia. I really enjoyed it. Me too, she replied, her expression softening. Let's do it again soon. I'd like that, I said, my heart racing as I stepped toward the door. Hey, she called just as I reached for the knob. I turned back, and she stepped closer, her gaze holding mine. Be careful out there, okay? I will, I promised, but the intensity of her gaze sent a shiver down my spine. With a wave, I stepped outside, the cool evening air washing over me. But as I walked down the steps, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something new, something exciting. The world outside was still bustling with life, but all I could think about was the warmth of Mia's laughter, the connection we had forged, and the undeniable spark that had ignited between us. As I walked home, the weight of my jacket felt lighter than ever, and I couldn't help but smile at the thought of what was to come.